Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bun Bun, and this is our reaction and review for Sweetpea Season 1, Episode 3. It is now time for us to continue our familiar refrain, how much we love this show. It's great. Rhiannon's story is great. There's a lot of twists and turns. I'm just so happy to be talking about it.
I love this show so much, and I really wish that more people were watching this show,
I
that they
know.
would find this show. It is so good. They did something in this episode 3, that I did not expect to happen, which is to have her actually have her showdown with Julia. I thought that this was going to be end of season 1 or even going into season 2. I did not expect this at all. This show completely surprised me, and we cover so
I
many
know.
thrillers and horrors. That's what we do
Yeah.
here at the channel, that these days to have a show that really surprises us is, I don't want to be like it's slim, because that's not the case, but I mean there is a formula to a lot of thrillers and horrors, but we have been so surprised by this show. Grotesquerie as well.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. If you're not watching that show also took us for a loop.
Yeah, we just come into this covering TV from the mindset of, okay, we've seen so much. What we really want more than anything else is for somebody to give us something we haven't seen before.
Mhm.
Like I love being wrong with my predictions, assumptions, all of that, just because I want my imagination to be tested. I want producers to be like, ha, to my face. And really, when we were at near the end of this episode, when it seemed as though Rhiannon was about to bring Julia within her house, I thought with every fabric of my being that Julia was going to get some sort of phone call, some sort of emergency was going to happen. Somebody was going to show up at the house, and then it wasn't going to happen. And Rhiannon was going to stomp her feet, get mad, go out, kill some other random person. And that was going to be how this episode ended. I did not expect the throwdown that we got in those closing minutes.
This show shot their shot, and
I
it
know.
landed so well. Episode 3, I
Yeah.
know this is a very short season, so it's like, oh, episode 3, oh, okay, we're halfway through. But at the same time, this is Julia. This is the biggest bad. So yeah, I'm really surprised that they did this, and I'm pleasantly surprised.
Well, we'll get more into what this means, the potential fallout, because that is pretty darn huge. Everything else that is going on Sweet Pea right now. But before we do, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we have more reviews coming for
Mhm.
the rest of this season. And we're in the midst of covering a lot of other really interesting mysteries and thrillers, including from on MGM. Plus, we have Teacup, which is
Mhm.
currently airing. And this week, premiering is Before on Apple TV Plus, which is a great thriller starring Billy Crystal. You're going to want to check that out as well.
It's really good. We've
Yeah.
had a chance to watch the first 2 episodes, and if you're looking for a thriller to take you through to Christmas, this is
Yes.
it. But also, we are covering The Penguin right now exclusively over at our Patreon. We'll leave a link for you below if you'd like to join. It's a great way to be able to
Mhm.
support Matt and I, and you will also be able to get weekly reviews of Landman, which is coming up, and Dune Prophecy, and we are only covering it over on our Patreon. So thank you so much to everyone who has joined.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay, before we get too much into the Julia of it, I have to ask a question.
Okay, go for it.
Why did she go back to those dumpsters to see the body? I I was so shocked that she did that after she killed that guy. I thought she was just gonna be like, okay, we'll put him away, we'll leave. And then this whole episode started with her actually going back, opening the door to this junkyard and going in and looking at the body as the sun was rising. Why are you going back to the scene of the crime?
Rhiannon is the sloppiest killer perhaps we have
Oh my
ever
God.
seen in so many different ways. And I'm kind of
She's
wondering,
getting her ideas from like crime procedurals.
I don't know what it is that she is just completely losing it. And I mean, it makes for compelling television how reckless it is. It's also telling us, okay, this is probably why this is only 6 episodes long, because there's not too much further she's going to be able to keep this going.
No, I mean that kill room that she made was terrible.
Yeah, like everything she's done so far has been pretty bad, pretty terrible. I'm guessing here, is this just a situation where she's been sort of imagining taking out people for so long that maybe she would just woke up and was like, did I really do this? I need to go back and see if I did this. Was this all a dream? And she's second guessing herself, or she's just finding so much confidence and just feels so empowered by, taking people out that she wanted to like go and get her bizarre dosage of serotonin before starting the day.
Yeah, and I mean, she is doing a lot of mischievous other things as well. We saw what she did to the coffee for Jeff and,
Yeah.
putting the phone in the slushy and all that sort of thing. But she's also trying to put herself out there at work as well. She's bringing in glutinous pastries. Man, I really understood that girl. That was just like, I'm smelling other people's croissants because I can't have it.
I
I
know.
know I do that to Matt all the time.
She's eating with donuts because I'm a big donut guy.
I know I have celiac, so I completely understand that girl. I'm that girl too.
No, they have done a good job of just sort of transforming Rhiannon's character pretty quickly over the course of time. Like, I did think it was
Yeah.
a little bit rushed in episode 2, but now that we're in episode 3,
Mm.
I'm kind of just along for the ride with it. And I'm kind of appreciating, okay, this is how she's acting at work. And basically, she's giving herself permission to give in to her worst impulses, which is very, very dangerous. But at the same time, I mean, it's hard to really sit here and be like, okay, none of us have ever, had the idea of, oh, somebody at the convenience store is really, really annoying me and making me feel like nothing. Of course, I would want to throw the phone into the slushy. Like, a lot of us aren't going to act on it, but we've really thought a lot of these things. And I think that's what makes Sweetpea compelling and interesting, is they're not trying to make Rhiannon like a completely alien person to a lot of us.
Yeah, and she's getting away with a lot of it, and she's getting the reaction out of it. So watching her do what she did to Jeff and watching him go home sick,
Mhm.
putting the phone in the slushy and feeling good that she's done something to this person. She's getting immediate like hits of adrenaline
Yeah.
out of it. Like, even if it's not straight murder, her doing things to hurt other people is making her build this confidence to where she's, changing this meeting with Craig into like a date, and it's working.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's meet up for this coffee. No, let's have dinner. Oh, what music do you listen to? And all of a sudden she's got, she's back home with Craig. Things are working, and she's realizing that when she's doing these things, it's building this confidence, and she's getting what she wants out of it.
Okay, I'm just going to say this right now. This is my biggest problem with Sweetpea as a show. I don't like Craig. I just find Craig annoying. I think he is just generic bro. He does not have anything that distinguishes him at all from any other person who I have ever seen on any other show. But that may be intentional. It might just be that, okay, this is just sort of like the generic hot guy she has sort of thought about, had feelings for a long time, and now she gets an opportunity to be with him. It may be intentional, but I just don't like him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like him either, but I do think that it's intentional because I think it's a way to sort of show that she's, now that people aren't ignoring her as much as they were, she's going after the people that would have ignored her in the past. Where then you have AJ, who's somebody who noticed her and was speaking to her before she was killing people and is continuing to try to have these conversations with her, is clearly interested in her, but she's now ignoring him, and he's not invisible to her, but he's not someone of interest because she's interested in the people that have hurt her in the past or ignored her in the past, that she is now doing that to him.
And I think she finds some sort of dark enjoyment out of the idea that, okay, now that I can do to somebody else to some extent what was done
Right.
to me, because it's a different experience. And once again, I think it's a dark show, it's a dark thought, but I think a lot of people have had those sort of dark impulses before. And I will say this for AJ, you deserve to be very happy in life. You also deserve better than a woman who is going around and killing people. I hope eventually you learn the truth and you realize this.
Well, the other thing that I found kind of interesting about it is that she seems to not really understand that she's kind of doing this a little bit to AJ, and she's not really noticing him because he isn't someone who's done this to her. But at the same time, she's so intuitive that when she's sitting down with Marina and the other cop and answering these questions, when this other cop leaves the room, she's able to zero in on Marina and be like, does your boss do this to you a lot, where they just ignore you and make you feel like you're nothing? And she's like, yeah. And she's able to really pick up on that with other people, but she's not really able to pick up that with what she's kind of doing with AJ.
She's a really interesting character in a lot of ways because she's very much all about thinking other people think and emote and have everything in their heads the same way that she does. Like, she's very narcissistic, I think, in that way. And this is where I think Marina could end up being her downfall, because I think she feels, obviously based on that conversation, that Marina views this world the same way as her because,
Right.
her boss is not treating her the best, and that, she might be invisible. And Marina may understand and relate to that to some degree, but Marina's also still a cop, and Marina has already clocked that, okay, this person has been in multiple other places. She may be acting a little bit strange. Like, Marina is the biggest threat that Rhiannon has right now.
And you called that.
It was the bathroom scene.
Yeah, it was the bathroom scene. You called that, and it absolutely was. And she is the biggest threat right now. And I think that's what this show does so well, that this isn't just sort of like another Dexter where she thinks she's doing the right thing. And there is something about her where she is connecting some things correctly to things that have happened in her past.
Yeah.
And then there are other things that she is completely making up in her head, like that Julia killed her dog.
Yeah.
Julia wasn't even there. She was there on a billboard. She had nothing to do with it. But she is connecting things that aren't actually happening and mixing them up in things that are actually happening. And I think for me, that's what makes this character and this show so interesting, because it's not really cut and dry where Dexter's a bad guy killing people, but he's only killing bad guys. So it's a little more on the straight and narrow of what is going on. Here, it's way more messy because some things make sense.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, this person did this, they deserve to die. Okay, this person didn't actually do this thing. Oh, but they still deserve to die.
They're, I think, making a real conscious decision here of, okay, we want Rhiannon to appeal to you as a character, but at the same time, we want you to understand that Rhiannon is a very bad person who is doing very bad things. Yes, there may be understandable reasons why she's the way that she is, but we still have to look at the morality of it, because yes, we can all sit here and say that Julia has done some very bad things to Rhiannon in her past. Like, she treated her terribly, especially when they were at school, but she's blowing them all up into this big other thing, and she's basically holding Julia responsible for every bad thing that has happened to her, basically because she's viewing it as, oh, you created the avalanche, and Rhiannon could have stopped the avalanche herself. She just doesn't want to take any sort of responsibility for anything and just project it all onto somebody else.
Okay, tinfoil hat.
All right.
This is what I think is actually going on with Julia, because she's feeling like Julia has this perfect life, looking at her social media. And we all know that social media is a lie, and that everybody's putting up all their best stuff to make it look like their lives are amazing. So she's going through it being like, oh, she's got this perfect fiance and this great job where everybody's positive at work and ringing the bell and everything's amazing. She's got these great friends. Okay, I think that things are not actually like that for Julia. Julia has like 16 missed calls from her fiance. She doesn't want to talk to him. She's not returning those calls. I think things at work maybe aren't going as well as she's pretending they are. I think she's living the life she wants to project that she's living, and things are actually falling apart behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think that's a fair theory to have, because Julia's just a person, and Rhiannon's not taking the time to kind of understand what sort of person she really is. She's just looking at her and being like, you ruined everything.
Yeah, and you're being rewarded for it. You have this great job, this great fiance, everything is going amazing for you. You're driving a great car. That shouldn't be rewarded. What you did to me in high school shouldn't be rewarded for you as an adult. And I think she's going to find out that she's actually not being rewarded in the way that she thought she was. Question mark. But will it even matter? I don't think so, because they have set this up that it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, and we're in a really interesting spot now at the end of this episode, because Rhiannon tries to kill Julia in that moment, but it doesn't work. We see that Julia is still alive, in the
Yeah.
closing second. So I don't believe that we're going to just start up episode 4 and Rhiannon's going to kill Julia at that point. It just feels like that's too weird, too lazy. If they wanted to kill Julia at this point, they would have done it at the end of this episode. So it feels like somehow, some way, she's going to make it out of this, at least for now, alive. And that's kind of where I wonder, all right, is somebody going to show up and interrupt whatever is going on here? Because it feels like it's going to be hard to stop Rhiannon now that sort of like the train has left the station and it's already going full speed ahead.
Julia can't be let go. That's sort of where she's at. Unless she escapes or somebody comes over, Julia's done.
Yeah.
But I do think that going into this next episode, because she didn't get what she wanted out of Julia, which is an apology, like a real acknowledgement of her effect on her, I think we're probably going to be going into a situation where she's going to be holding Julia and she's going to make Julia take responsibility for everything, including the things she didn't do, like killing, her dog.
It's crazy. Okay, here's the other thing I'm wondering about.
And then she'll kill her.
That's possible. That's possible. I just think even if Julia gets away from all of this, like, she doesn't have any real evidence of anything that she's necessarily saying. I mean, yeah, Marina can come and question her, but it's still going to be this very precarious position where there's no proof that Rhiannon has done all of this. Rhiannon may, clean up her terrible kill room and do whatever else she can to sort of come across as quote unquote innocent. It still feels like that's only going to work though for so long.
She can't get out of this. The fact that these murders have now been linked to the same knife, and she is like, oh, I don't care. And she knows about it. She's still like stabbing Julia's tires with the same knife. Like, everything is still the same. She hasn't changed any of her methods at all. Julia's blood is all over this house. She doesn't know how to clean up a scene. She's not cleaning up any scenes. So is she actually going to be all of a sudden able to bleach out her house and make sure that there's no trace of anything so that it's just Julia's word against hers? I don't believe it. She's not going to all of a sudden be so great at this.
It's really hard to just understand what the show is doing. Like, I'm glad that they did this at the end of episode 3 because it does leave us in this big uncertain position. But there are 3 episodes left, and conventional wisdom would be, okay, Julia's going to find a way to get out of this, and then Rhiannon's going to be arrested. But then it's like, okay, well, what are the next 2 episodes going to be?
That's why I think Julia is definitely going to die by the end of the next episode, whether or not she gets what she wants out of Julia, which I think is an apology and some sort of, responsibility for doing what she did to her is, another question. But I think that Julia won't make it out. I mean, she's got a huge list of people she wants to kill. Julia's just one person on this list.
I think it just speaks very, very much to her overall arrogance and hubris that, all right, I was able to take out rando number 1 and rando number 2. I'm ready for the big leagues now. It's sort of like you're going to a basketball court and you're sort of playing pickup basketball against like 2 people who randomly show up and you're like, all right, LeBron, it's time. Let's go. Let's do. It's like you're not equipped for this yet. You've taken out 2 people, but now you're in the midst of somebody you have like this deep emotional hatred for. I'm not surprised it went badly because she's so, corrupted by everything else, and she doesn't have the element of surprise as much here.
No, I thought there was going to be a build-up to getting to her big bad, but it went from 2 random guys to Julia all at once. And that's what makes the show so exciting.
I just hope in these upcoming episodes that we continue to see like this sort of surprise where maybe we don't have Rhiannon's kill list like going on a straight line. Like, I'm sure she's going to take out more people by the end of this season, but because Julia has already been targeted, it does sort of throw all the pieces all over the board where it's kind of hard to predict where she's going to go now.
Yeah.
But that's what we have here on Sweetpea Season 1, Episode 3. So hit that subscribe button now so you guys don't miss any of our other updates. And if you do want to support us more, join our Patreon. We got that link in the description below where we are covering The Penguin exclusively there now. And moving into next month, we've got Landman on Paramount Plus and then also Dune Prophecy on HBO. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you here next time.